I have a video in here showing my first try at replacing the contacts in the Korg. These came from Amazon. I would not recommend going through this yourself because I put these in and had to take them out and put the originals back in. This is a horrible, crammed in the box mess that I definitely wouldn't want to deal with again. They did not work. Part of them didn't even play. Other ones you hit them and it was like you played the notes several times and nothing sounded right. And so let's move on to the new contacts. And this came from a company called Parts Are Parts, which when I went to the Korg website, this is what they directed me to. These are the official people who do the sales for them and a lot of other people. And so we start over again. Alright, if you're working on a Korg Kross, this is a Korg Kross II. One thing you might want to be aware of when you go to take this apart to replace contact pads, you don't need to remove these screws here on that metal sheet. But down in here are some. Now I've written little arrows so that I would know where they are, but they're screws. Anywhere I've got an arrow, there's a screw. So those will confuse you if you're having trouble. This has a regular arrow already built into it, and there was no screw in that one. So I made my own. Any place that I've got those, there will be a screw down in there to be removed. And that will stop you from taking it apart. You may have a problem trying to figure out why it won't open up. And if you've gotten all the screws out that need to be taken out, then you should be able to just put your hand behind it and lift, and it come right up, which is exactly what it's doing here. And I'll lift here simply because I'm wanting to show inside. You want to be careful. You've got a cable right there, and it's got a strain relief right here, another one around the corner here, and you just unplug this plug, and then you can remove that and get it out of the way. Then take out the screws. This actually had a screw here and a screw here and nothing here, and I put it up here, so I've got it in the front and the back. It's the same way on the other side. Once you do that, you get these screws out on the two ends, and then you can remove the bottom body. These are actually shorter, these 4 screws, so you'll want to separate them from the others. The rest of them that go across here are just like the ones that are around the bottom that you have to remove. And I've got mine all in these 2 here, separated by what's what, but it really doesn't matter. They're all the same thing. And now I can pick this up and just get it separated from the rest of it. And now that it's out of the rest of the case, you got to get screws out the front. There's 6 of them. You put 1 on each end when you put it back together, and then 2 in the center, and then you'll skip a hole and put 1 in the next out. That's the way mine is, at least. It's not fully populated. See, so I've got 1 on each end. This one here doesn't even have that second one, but this does. There is even a hole there for it, but it's not been threaded. And once you get that off and out of the way, then you'll want to turn it around and begin removing screws here. If you're only going to be working on a certain area, then you only need to remove that area. And this will come out from here. You can see up here where these screws are together. This section here will come out. This section here will come out. They're all separate. So I'll be removing all of the screws. And when you go to put it back together, not counting the white one here, because the way they look. So you've got a screw, 2 holes, a screw, a hole, a screw. A screw, 2 holes, a screw, a hole, a screw. Screw, 2 holes, a screw, a hole, and a screw. And it's like that right on down. And of course, when you get to the end, you'll have 1 more that you need to put in. Alright, I'm using a pill container. That's for the screws from the front. So I separate things that way. Now this can be removed and clean it up while you got it apart. I'll put it over here with the rest of the parts. Now, when you go to remove those, they have tabs that you want to remove. Now, there's 3 tabs per each one, and you don't want to pull it out and break it, so you just kind of lift. See how it just picked up? You kind of just lift as you pull it toward you. There it goes. Don't pry. Just do like so. Oh, there's 4 tabs. 4 tabs on the first one, since I've got it pointed toward me. This is the one with that extra screw. The rest of them all have 3 tabs. Yeah, all of them have 3 tabs. Just this one here has got 4. And then you kind of bring it up, push it that direction. When it goes back together, those just have to line up in the holes where they were, and you just lay it back down again. Give it a little push forward, I usually do. And then you'll just push it down each one and make it click. But for now, we're just taking them out of the way. What I'm interested in are these right here. And the 4 on the end here are completely separate from the rest of them. My new pack, I'll have to cut 4 in order to make them fit, because they only come in packs of 12. But once you get done with these, you got holes for these little tabs on them, and you just line them up. Now you have to be very careful if you're going to use a screwdriver, but you get a hold of it with the screwdriver. Each one of those, you can feel it click when it goes, but each one of those has to be pressed back down in. You want them to be flush, and be careful. You've got a Vaseline style substance on this. You don't want that on the contacts. Now I'll take a brush and brush this all out once I get it all undone. And we shall see how she goes after that. I've learned from experience that things won't work exactly right the first night. You let it set for 24 hours and these things will settle into place and operate better. Now these are going to have a shininess to them. Yeah, they've been worn and used. The new ones shouldn't have that. And don't go getting them from Amazon like I did. I put them in here and had to take them back out and send them back to Amazon. I got these from Parts Are Parts, which if you go to the Korg website, they will direct you to them. So the ones that I got that I'm replacing them with this time, I will be using right from them. The first time I did this, failed, and I ended up putting the originals back in it again. But since I brushed the contacts off, it did work a lot better than what it did when I put in those other ones. It sounded like a toy. I think the contacts might have a different resistance, but it didn't sound right. Some of the notes, you push them down, they might hit 3 or 4 times. The other ones didn't play at all. So this is the second try. Now I've worked on it before, but this is the first time I've replaced all of these. Keys are off of it, so we'll pick these up, set them down. Yep, there are a lot of those. You see the shininess on them? That shows that they've been worn. And I got this keyboard, around 2000. So this is 2006 when I'm replacing these. Give you an idea as to how long they last. And what happens is the velocity stops working right. You wind up, if it seems like you're pounded down on a key because it's playing extra loud and it don't need to be. And the velocity is what it affects more than keys stopping playing. So that's the reason this one here is getting them replaced. Contacts I got from Amazon were all crammed in a box. I'll add that to this so you can see. But this is the way they came.
Don't pack your old ones together like this until you know these ones are working fine, because I ended up putting my old ones back in the machine. And if you happen to get something on the back of one of them, on this side here, you happen to get something on that and you butt it up against the contact, like that Vaseline stuff, if you get some of that on the outside, and it's very easy to do that, and you wind up getting that in there, it'll be on the contacts, so when you go to put it back together, if you have to use the old contacts again, then you will wind up getting that on the contact board. Be very careful using your screwdriver because you don't want to break them. This is not something that was broken that they're together like that. But the holes are on the ends of the pads are going to fit down inside those. You have to pay attention to that when you go to put the last four in here. Make sure that you cut them so that you've got the last four holes and you don't cut the four holes off of the end. Because see how these are. You go cut these off at the end so that you can put them in here. You might end up taking off your pieces that hold them down in the board, and you don't want to do that, so make sure you cut after them. This is where the fun part comes in. You want to make sure those are in there. They'd go through it afterwards. I've had times when they weren't lined up and I thought they were. Once you've got them all down in there and everything seems fine, go over it again. Try to get them flat down on there. I'm using a smaller screwdriver, and I can feel that I can actually hear it. And we'll go ahead and do the rest of that off camera. Once you've gotten done with it, and everything seems to be down, you go through the back and look at it, make sure you don't have anything wrong with it. And it's a good idea to do this. If you see that one there moving because you're touching this one, there's an issue. You do that right on down through them. Now I have one that is an issue. See, this is right here at that point. That one does not want to go down, stay down. Now, if I had another set of pads, I would be pulling this, then replacing it for that very reason. I've already gone through them a couple of times. Usually you can tap that down a little bit. Sometimes the pins go down a little and don't go down a lot, and which is part of the reason for you settling in for at least 24 hours. Okay, now you get these up here, and you kind of line them up so that these pieces line up in the areas. Everything will fall down into place. This is not right because they're not back far enough. There we go. Now we're there. And you, right where the tabs are at, there's 1, 2. That one I already got down. Okay. Check your notes, make sure that they play. Show that one more time. Just want them to kind of line up right here. The front parts are going to go in. These are what's necessary. You want to make sure those get behind the fingers so you can see all of those up through there. Then when you set it down, give it a push forward and then pull it back. That should do it. 1, 2, and all 3 of them went down. Once again, line them up. Make sure that the fingers are all on this side. They're going to go up there in them holes up there on the top. So you want them to ride up there. That's why you give it that little push forward so that they slip up. And then you pull it back, which sets them up in there. And then it's snap, snap, snap. Once more, those holes up here, they're where those, that has to do with your velocity, or your weighting, excuse me, your weighting. So you make sure that the fingers are on this side. Bring it down. Now see the keys are up, so you have to push it forward a little bit. There you go. Make sure they're all up there. When you pull them back, they go back into the holes where they belong at. That's another reason for that Vaseline substance. Looking good, looking good. Alright, once you've got them in there, there should be a little bit of play in the back, all the way across. That lets you know everything's loose and riding right. Now we put the screws in, and I'll turn it around before I do that. Now I've always done that, but I've never really noticed that there's actually an arrow pointing where the screw goes on each one of these. So that makes sense. So I'll go ahead and tighten the screws down, and when you do that, pay attention to what you're doing. Always, 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 no matter what you're working on, turn it to the left first. You hear that? Now start putting it down in there. Don't strip your screws out. Don't tighten them down tight yet. It's the same. See, I heard it click. But see, that's how you keep from screwing your screws up. You strip out the holes. And I've worked on so many things where it's been done too. Somebody just start cranking it. Nope. Back it up till you hear it fall down into that hole. Once it's lined up with the threads, then go ahead and tighten it down. There it went. Do that with every screw you put back in that thing. Do it with anything you work on. That's why I say don't use power tools. Things need to settle, usually for 24 hours or more. I know I got everything down, but I could plainly see that some of this stuff just needed to settle. So here we go, first time. Let's see if we got all the notes. Yay! Now, if you've seen my other video showing what happened when I installed those other pads from Amazon, you know what happened. These came from Parts Are Parts, which is where they sell authentic parts for Korg and a lot of other places. And the Korg website is what sent me to them. And this time it was a success.